news, Trump just declared national emergency. They better watch out, by Matt for mpolitical.com. You probably didn't see it in the mainstream media, but among the executive orders signed by Donald Trump recently declared a national emergency. The executive order addressed to Congress states that pursuant to the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, he's declaring a national emergency with respect to the unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States posed by serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world. In other words, the act is targeting international human rights abusers. Given the timing of this order and the recent drama that the United Nations, which overwhelmingly passed a resolution dissenting from Trump's declaration of Jerusalem of the capital of Israel, it's apparently directed it at many of those countries. It's clear that they've gone unchecked thus far, and one should not look further than their treatment of Israel to prove as much. According to Unbiased America, in 2016, the UN General Assembly passed 5 times more resolutions against Israel than against North Korea, Syria, Russia, Iran, and the rest of the world combined. The executive order reads, to the Congress of the United States, pursuant to the International Emergency Economic Powers Act as amended 50 U.S.C. 1701, IEEPA, I hereby report that I have issued the enclosed executive order, the order declaring a national emergency with respect to the unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States posed by serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world. In addition to taking action under IEEPA, the order implements the Global Magnitsky Human Rights Accountability Act and the public law there, the act, and delegates certain of its authority. The order blocks the property and interest in property of persons listed in the annex or into the order. Okay, it also blocks the property and interest in property of any foreign person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. 1, to be responsible for or complicit in or to have directly or indirectly engaged in serious human rights abuse. 2, to be a current or former government official or a person acting for or on behalf of such an official who is responsible for or complicit in or has directly or indirectly engaged in a. Corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the expropriation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts, and the extraction of natural resources or bribery, or B, the transfer or the facilitation of the transfer of the proceeds of corruption. 3, to be or have been a leader or official of A, an entity, including any government entity that has engaged in or whose members have engaged in any of the activities described in 1, 2A or 2B above relating to the leaders or officials' tenure, or B, an entity whose property and interest in property are blocked pursuant to the order as a result of activities related to the leaders or the officials' tenure. Or 4, to have attempted to engage in any of the activities described in 1, 2A, or 2B above. The order also blocks any person determined by the Secretary of the Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. 5, to have materially assisted, sponsored, or provided financial, material, or technological support for, or goods or services to, or in support of A, any activity described in 1, 2A or 2B above that is conducted by a foreign person. B, any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to the order, Or C, any entity described in 3A above where the activity is conducted by a foreign person. 6, to be owned or controlled by, or to have acted or purported to act for or on behalf of, directly or indirectly, any person whose property and interests in property are blocked pursuant to the order. Or 7, to have attempted to engage in any of the activities described in 5 or 6 above. In addition to the order suspends entry into the United States of any alien listed in the annex or determined to meet one or more of the criteria above. I have delegated to the Secretary of the Treasury the authority, in consultation with the Secretary of State, to take such actions, including adopting rules and regulations, and to employ all powers granted to the President by IEEPA and the Act, as may be necessary to implement the order and relevant provisions of the Act. I have delegated to the Secretary of State the authority to take such actions, including adopting rules and regulations, and to employ all powers granted to the President by IEEPA and the Act, as may be necessary to implement the provisions of the order and the Act suspending entry into the United States of certain aliens. All executive departments and agencies are directed to take all appropriate measures within the authority to implement the order. Donald J. Trump, the White House, December 20th. According to Freedom Daily, the executive order is directed against some specific individuals. Among them include an Israeli billionaire, the head of Nicaragua's Electoral Commission, and the former president of Gambia. They're listed all here. One is from Pakistan, Dominican Republic, Burma, Gambia, Russia, Guatemala, Uzbekistan, Serbia, nationality Russia, China, Nicaragua. How will the United Nations respond? Will they ignore real problems? Do things that matter? That's a very good question. But you can be sure Hillary should be on this list, that's for sure. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.